The Morning Dump from Hurrdat Sports with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
We are back. I love doing that because DB does it all the time. I have to try to join. I got to try to join in every now and then. It's Coffee and Cream in the mornings, secondary show, Morning Dump. It's where we come for all of that extra conversation we can't get to on the live show. So find us wherever you get your podcasts. That's Apple, that's Spotify. It's Morning Dump, and we are here to continue conversation. Now, conversation was sparked early on in the show that led to a plethora of poll questions out of DB's Twitter, which is at Damon Benning. You can go check him out, and he's talking about meat. First, it started with steak, then it went to hamburger, and
I'm learning all sorts of things.
And
man.
now he's questioning his lifestyle choices.
I am. So I learned two things today, for sure. Two, more than that, but for sure two. Number one,
always carrying an Allen wrench.
Okay, three things. Because man, you got our chair game right.
I know. I got them fixed. We were rocking back and forth, and then I'm like, hey, I think I have those
and
Allen wrenches
and this
still
whole
in my
time
backpack.
I was saying, man, these chairs are comfy, but they're not going to last. But good job. Well done.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, so listen.
Team player.
So not only are Allen wrenches important, I didn't realize that so many people apparently order their steaks different from their burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this started because, and it needs context for Twitter. Like, I got a couple of guys that are like, well, it's their own steak. They can eat it how they want, which wasn't the point of the poll. The poll was,
thanks for listening to the show, guys.
Shane Schillerberg made the claim that the only people that get people that get chastised or ostracized the worst are people that like their steaks well done.
And I couldn't agree more.
Shane.
And I was like, really? I would think rare people get it too. Apparently not.
Nope, because if your meat's red, it's good.
Because
that's it. That's what they think when they think
I
steak.
just thought, like, because you know how it always gets a reaction at the table. Oh, it's whatever. So I'm like, oh, rare people get it too. Oh, the poll, it's like Stevie Nicks and it's a landslide.
It is. It is.
Right. We're over 1,500 votes. There's 80% 90 that say rare people or well done people get it the worst. Why? But then you go to the comment section and it's apparently you transform a good steak the more done it is, and it turns into hamburger,
which is what I said.
Which begged the question, well, do people
it
get
doesn't turn into hamburger.
You're right. It turns into a hockey puck.
It
a chewy
hockey
puck.
Which led me to the question, well, do people eat their burger different than their steak? Because I don't. That would be new for me. So I learned that too, because so far, and it's early, brother, man. It's
Shane
early.
Just likes gnawing on a chew toy.
See, why are you giving him such a hard time?
Because he takes one of the best cuts of meat and he just fires it up.
All right, so the well done rare, medium rare is running at 91% well done. 1,600 votes.
That's a lot of votes.
So far in 26 minutes, the steak different from a burger, it's at 566 votes, and it's 81% say yes. I've never thought about that. Mm-hmm. So
so you've always been medium rare through and through.
So there's always a sign at a restaurant. Now, full disclosure, Drew Down, I don't get a ton of burgers out.
Nor do I.
I don't order a lot of burgers out. This is Pell Varsity Club is one of the few places I get a burger. Block 16, I get a burger.
That's because they look so good on social media.
There's quiet as kept. There's a very good place in town, a little hole in the wall called Therapy that has good burgers.
We mentioned them on Monday.
So I don't get a lot of burgers out. There's always a sign, meat products cooked under, like they give you that little disclaimer that's usually on the menu. But I just say for burgers, I just say medium. Medium gets me about where I want with a burger. And I figure close enough when I say medium with steaks because the restaurant asked me well or rare, medium well, medium rare. Difference. I think it's like 7 or 8 degrees. A medium rare. So I just say kind of the same thing. But man, is it different. But now what I also learned And this is Aaron now that told me us on Twitter. Apparently, smash burgers are the way to go because of the width of the patty and the crust on the sear changes the flavor. So I thought to myself, I've never gotten into smash burgers because two things. I've always learned that the tighter the patty, the less juice there is.
100%.
But he's telling me the science behind these smash burgers, and I'm kind of interested now.
They're great to make on the skillet.
So now that I have a Blackstone, I'm like,
You
maybe
should
I
do
have
it.
to get into this.
All you have to do is get one of those stamps.
But why wouldn't I just eat more? Why wouldn't I just make a bigger patty? Well, he's telling me why you just don't make a bigger patty, right? But don't you need like 3 or 4 smash burgers to like
To
'cause they
equate
look
to
so-
the size,
They just look so little.
but they're just not as, well, they're much bigger, right? So like when you make a burger, normally it shrivels up.
Not as thick, but a little more
Right,
surface area.
Right. Normally it shrivels up from the size,
Yeah.
but if you go flat, it'll stay that size.
So I don't have to put the dent in it, and sometimes when
Yes, I know what you're
so
saying.
I make those thick burgers.
Yep,
Sometimes
and
I
you put
a
your
little-
thumb in it.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure. Yep. Not with a smash burger, because what you do is you just take it, you take your ball of meat, right? You put it on the skillet, and then immediately
And that was on the heels of the discussion that I told you. My barber, who I've been friends with for 30 years, we've only been in 2 serious arguments. The last one was over how to eat a steak. Of all the things that we've talked about, Shane just chimed in with, "Yeah, man, like people treat us well done, steak people bad." I'm like, do they? Do they really?
Well, I am seeing responses like anything medium or beyond, you might as well get the chicken, which is funny because if I was to order the protein the way from best to worst, or at least that I would pick first, I would go fish, chicken, then the cow, then the pig.
Really? And most of it is how you were raised, though, because you ate a lot of pork when you were a kid, so you're
And
out
a lot
on
of
that,
cow.
and you're out on that farm.
Yeah.
And you didn't get a lot of fish and chicken, so you like.
So I like that now.
Yeah, because your go-to is salmon, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
steak or fish.
For me, like if I could only eat one the rest of my life, definitely steak. I love fish, though.
Ah, yes, I remember. I had the lasagna.
I love fish. That's not a good movie. That's from
It's a great movie.
Shane. What's the movie that I always say is overrated? What movie is that from?
Airplane.
Oh, I thought that was Fletch for some reason. I liked Airplane. Airplane was funny.
Isn't that from Airplane?
It might be. I don't know. I don't know. But there are a lot of, strong opinions.
that's Airplane.
on steak.
What was it we had for dinner tonight? Well, we had a choice of steak or fish. Yes, I remember. I had the lasagna.
Context. Do you eat your steak, the burger, the same way?
I eat my steak rare or medium rare, and I eat my burger medium to probably well done.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I could eat a well done burger.
Medium, because I like the juice. My dad makes burgers medium rare, I think, so I can do really anything.
Is he a charcoal guy or is he?
Gas grill, convenience.
Yeah, I just don't know. I'm not really willing to sacrifice taste for convenience.
He wants to learn how to use a smoker. Like he wants to get a smoker,
Yeah.
but he doesn't want to splurge on a smoker.
When you invite me to the loo, I'll teach him how to use a smoker.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say teach him how to smoke. Barry doesn't strike me as a smoker.
No,
Nor am I.
no, he is not a smoker.
So it's like,
He won't even do a cigar.
and you will call me neither. Good on him. Bless his soul.
Now I will do a cigar, but what I hate more than anything is the taste that just rests in your mouth.
Yeah, the old bear taking a duker.
Even if you take
The finest cigar, which people tell me you can't smoke.
right,
I used to always tell people this about wine, right? Oh, wine gives me a headache, and I was like, that's cheaper tantrics. Like you need different kinds of wine. That's how I feel with the whole
Right.
cigar thing. I'm like, oh man, I just feel like, bleh.
well, like even if you take your whole tube of toothpaste and rub it in your mouth and then drink a gallon of mouthwash, in the morning, you'll still wake up feeling like you just smoked your cigar 2 minutes ago. Like that's how it always works.
Yeah,
with
see,
those
that's
things.
just not worth it, is it?
It's not. Like, I do it in the moment.
Man,
but
I got some buddies, man, that love to smoke cigars.
I like a cigar every now and then.
Michigan
Not
Lance is
going
a
to
cigar
lie.
smoker.
I did it with my Uncle Tom when I went back home around Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was cool because you stand outside and you're just kind of shooting it. And
How about how the last couple of years it is now cool to smoke cigars after championship celebrations, whether you're in college or not. Isn't it weird now just to see guys in college?
right, just with
turning
a
and
fat
burning.
stogie.
Did Burrow make that famous? Or was it pre-Burrow?
I think Burrow reignited it. No pun intended.
I don't remember anybody in college ever doing that before Burrow.
I don't remember either. But how often did we see a team from Louisiana State winning a title before Burrow?
I don't think it was a Louisiana State thing. I think it was a Joe Cool thing. Because now everybody does it.
Yeah, it's more. I think just with everything, it's just socially accepted, right?
Yeah.
As time goes on.
That softer generation.
Speaking of meat and speaking of college football,
They ain't consulted with Barry Rogers, have they?
That's what that is.
we talked about trimming the fat. What was that? Like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Like it was a pretty good haul ago.
Much to do about nothing, or is it actually something that they're going to have to really work at?
And Rhule is kind of in an interesting spot because he doesn't have to make a decision right away because of the NCAA bylaw that allows him to essentially like trim players as the year goes on. He doesn't have to make it by a certain point to that 85 number, although you will eventually have to get to 85 scholarship players on the roster. But they have 103 right now, and actually 148 total athletes, which is mind-boggling.
Are you more surprised by the number of players or the number of staff?
Good point. It's probably the staff for me. Like there are so many staff members that
What's he got? 38?
it's a business.
39?
Like, he treats this as a business.
So, and we're okay with this, right? We got into a fascinating discussion over the whole CEO thing.
Yeah.
And how it
I'm a
plays to
fan.
strengths of college versus pro. And it was on the heels of Tepper in Carolina saying he made a mistake by hiring a CEO. You like the way that it'll play here?
Yes, because when you take somebody that is in a CEO type role, you don't want them to be as actively involved in everything, but you want them to know what's going on in everything. And so when you take a look at Matt Rhule and what he's been able to do, it's kind of like the perfect mix, right? He doesn't have to know everything that goes on the defensive side, like in the secondary. He doesn't have to know everything that goes on in the wide receivers room, but he's always there. And that's a good CEO, a present CEO. And that's what's going to work for Nebraska because he's going to let his people, his so-called managers, like if we put it in a hierarchy of an actual business, you're going to allow your vice presidents to overrule their people. And then you're going to allow your managers to overrule, certain people. And then you're going to allow your workers, which are the players in this example, to, kind of fit with their team, whether you're focusing on recruiting, whether you're focusing on catching the football, whether you're focusing on, run schemes. Like it's the perfect build. And I don't know if Nebraska has had a build like this in a long time.
I'm trying to think. Bo was co-coordinator, then he gave up coordinating to Papuchis. Callahan was the offensive coordinator. What did Riley do? Riley had an OC in Langsdorf. He had a DC. He actually had two. I think Riley was maybe the closest, but he also kind of was, I think, stripped a little bit of power by when Nebraska hired a general manager, which was kind of cutting edge for them. with what's my guy's name that came from the Rams, who they hired that I can't remember, and didn't have a ton of I think kind of usurped power a little bit. This is probably right. And you know what? I think Coach Rhule will have a lot that won't even get to his plate, let alone taking it off his plate. What are we looking at out there? Like,
Shaner.
What are we doing?
Shaner,
What's up?
check your phone.
What are we doing?
People always need to get in whenever we're recording.
Oh, it's kind of weird. I'm like, what are you doing?
I'm
I don't
trying to
see-
get Shane's
I don't
attention
see
without
any-
interrupting
I
you.
don't see anybody at the door.
They're all in their cars now
What are
because
you-
they were
what are
at
you
the door.
Trying to do. Who are we waiting on?
Nobody.
Oh, so how do you know that they're
Well, so Katie was trying to get in, and then
our Katie?
Ashley called me. Yes. The event coordinators here at HVC were trying to get in, and it was locked. So
So that's how you know Mary Kate and Ashley.
Correct.
She's like, babe, I need to get in.
yep, all of them. All of them are like, let me in. It's cold. Even though it's not that cold outside. It's like 47. Anyway, back to your point.
Yeah, I think it's going to work because some stuff won't get to his plate. I think he trusts his people.
Which is a good thing because you don't want Matt Rhule's hands in everything as the puppet master.
How
You
about
want to let your people lead,
speaking of
and he leads his people.
speaking of checkers and chess? How about how we were talking about that extra pool of monies that weren't going towards coaches? We know why. He had to spread that out in a lot of other places to get the staff that he wanted.
Correct.
So it's interesting because you know what I always subscribe to, Drew Down? Head coaches coach coordinators, coordinators coach position coaches coach players.
Hey, DB,
Play on, playa.
What does that sound like? A business model?
It's a business model.
It is a business model.
Let's hope it works.
And with winter workouts bringing about team competition right now, you're going to get down to those numbers that you're looking for. And it's going to come naturally in a lot of cases. Come May, some guys are probably just going to hit the transfer window again. Some guys who don't see themselves fitting into the program, or vice versa, that Rhule and his staff don't see fitting into the program, are going to end up leaving at some point. So you'll get to that number, but it's great because this is what you will do. By having this kind of 3-month window, it allows Rhule, the staff, and the team, we'll talk players here too, to be picky with who they bring along on this journey. Keep guys that want to play here, find the best ones, the ones that earn their spot, and let the others walk. It's about establishing a high floor of player culture. And that's something that so Brady Oltmans wrote an article on hailvarsity.com. If you'd like to go check that out, you need to be a subscriber. And to be a subscriber, you can use our promo code. That's at AR or at DB for whichever path you'd like to take, monthly or yearly subscriptions. But he also ended up saying, because it has that high floor of player culture, it in turn leads to a high ceiling for the upcoming season.
Well, here's the deal. So, like with all those numbers and trimming the fat, since we were talking about meat and you dropped the reference and we're landing the plane with trimming the player fat, are you a big natural selection guy? Like,
eat or be eaten. That's kind of how I operate.
Because I think I would love to be able to get back to that, because that's how I was coached. And, you know, it's like get what you get and you don't throw a fit. But now you have so many options, right? Like if you don't like something. So I'm always kind of like, I don't want to be a back in the day guy, but I do like and won't compromise over competition. So, like, if it's about competing, and then you can decide when they put all that stuff through the colander and it sifts its stuff out, whatever's left, man, throw that stuff away, or you can go to another place, or you can just go to
sift it,
school.
man.
It's a tough sport, and it's not for everybody, right? So, it's okay if you want to do something different.
I made donuts the other day. I dipped I make donuts from sort
I know
of
you
scratch.
keep telling me you're a
Dude, I
good
gotta make you a
donut maker.
Dude, it's great too. I take honey butter biscuits, cut out the middle, put them in the air fryer, 3 minutes both sides on 350.
Oh, he got a science.
Dip them into butter, both
Dip
sides.
them in the batter.
Dip them into cinnamon sugar,
Yeah.
and let them sit for a minute. Dude, they're fantastic. But what happens at the end is because you have that butter that mixes in with the cinnamon sugar, has the clumps. You get your sifter out to save the cinnamon sugar. You pour it in, you get all the clumps out. That's kind of what Nebraska's doing in this case.
My man is getting rid of the clumps.
Winter conditioning is doing that. You take all the clumps, you toss them to the side,
Yeah.
and then you say, hey, let's reuse what we just had
Hey, how
for
about
the next batch.
how about a clump?
And then the next batch, you keep the guys that stick around.
I
Right?
like the way you're thinking.
So that's what I think is next for Nebraska at this point. As they are in and about winter conditioning, that's what they're thinking about. Because Matt Rhule can't just get in there and start coaching. You have to be an observer for some time. It's just how it is. So once it's kind of to that point to where, hey, spring ball rolls around, we'll see who wants to be there. We'll see who put in the work for the last 2 months.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I do think the weight room will sort some folks out before they even get to spring ball.
Correct. You're going to see people that are in the weight room, I don't know how often. You were a player twice a day?
Yeah, so usually you have your workout and then you'll have like your lifting session in
Right.
whatever order.
You'll see who is trying to reach a goal versus who's just in there to be in there, to say they were in there. I think that's something to pay attention to. And as much as we know, we'll update you along that journey. Tomorrow,
Yeah, we'll keep you in the loop.
we wanted to discuss a little bit about Dylan Raiola. So we're going to try to figure out a way to mix that in because as you heard on Monday, Sam McEwen said, I think Nebraska's the favorite.
A lot of people are leaning that way now.
And I don't know if they are thinking that because he is a legacy or if it's actually because Matt Rhule knows how to recruit the best player in the nation, according to stars out there. So we'll get into that.
Certainly the top quarterback in the
Right.
country.
And we'll get into that tomorrow on Coffee and Cream. So a nice little teaser for you to join the show then. Aside from that, if you missed anything, like I said at the beginning of the show, go back, listen to your favorite podcast, which is either Coffee and Cream, which comes on Hail Varsity Radio's podcast page, or Morning Dump. That's its own entity. Maybe we can try to branch some things out in the future. We'll try to make it easier for all of you. He's at Damon Benning on Twitter. I'm at Andrew Rogers TV. The show at H Varsity Radio or at Hurrdat Sports. We will see you Wednesday morning.